let's get underway with the glossary. The abdication awareness. These four factors immediately come to mind after 30, 40 years of counselling people and families in clinic. The first abdication that causes so much pain is the abdication of parental training and guidance of their own children through the critical infant phase. Most antisocial behaviour can be traced back to approximately 2 years old, at which time the child may fail to develop natural empathy, estimated at about 5% of children, setting the stage for pathological antisocial predatory behaviour, especially in boys. And you can pick up that line from Jordan Peterson's little chat. And through the current tsunami of multiple amoral indoctrinations in school and culture in their teenage years. A second abdication that comes to mind is by parents and community of their responsibilities to confront looming obvious incompatibility or a total lack of preparation and partnership living when faced with what are literally adult children's plans to marry the wrong person. Yep, there's such a thing as an incompatible person, as many have found to their great sorrow. A third abdication is the abandonment of young men who are in need of real help to harness their disillusionment energy and to avoid becoming ashamed of their own masculinity and the face and onslaught of current feminist ideology. And the fourth and last abdication I want to mention is the commission given to every Christian to go and make disciples to Christ. The Great Commission? No, the Great Abdication, in my observation and experience of the church. Phrase number 2, still in the letter a woman's right to choose. Indeed, and we acknowledge that she has already exercised that right, even though she may have chosen casual intimacy over moral virtue, or chose a man quite unprepared for fatherhood over a prepared one. The right to choose, all right, and abandon the practice of delayed gratification to avail herself of the immediate gratification of truly unsafe sex. Oh, she chose all right. No short-term pain for long-term gain for this woman. Many clinical hours listening to heartbreaking stories have forever convinced me that denial of her responsibilities or of the reality of a newly conceived child, or running and hiding from the consequences of those misguided and tragic choices will never, ever contribute to an honour-building, self-respect restoring, healing action or a therapeutic choice for her. And all those who collude with her in her self-respect stripping choice will share in her culpability when they see the true consequences of their utter failure to exercise what is forgotten, tough love. A is for abortion in our tough love vocabulary today. Abortion in the status of a pre-emergent baby. Any line we try to draw over whether or not the right to life status should be granted a womb cocoon baby will also rule out some living adults as well. Did you ever notice that? For example, the criterions of non-sentient, misshapen, comatose. They're dependent. We can't give them human status if they're dependent or low expectation of survival. Problem is, it also includes people still alive today. They cannot be dismissed that easily without fearful implications. Fertilization of the mother's egg is the only rational and logical starting point possible to receive the title of a human life. There is no other. without resorting to arbitrary, non-confirmable dates to ascribe an artificial beginning point for a human life. It's a joke. Was it yesterday or today or tomorrow they became a human being? A first trimester fetus knows no line between itself and a second trimester. Ditto for a third. It retains potential sentience at all times. Plus, the ideological amnesia also draws a curtain over the knowledge that we also were all once womb-bound. Remember? No, of course you don't. That's why you're in this confusion. To discover ourselves possibly in the most dangerous place in the world at that phase of our lives. A phase, that's all it is. The womb of a mother wondering whether or not she should action her right to choose, a right you yourself never would have granted her had you had any say in the matter whatsoever. That makes of you, the woman's right to choose advocate, a functional hypocrite, doesn't it? Whether or not that revelation ever even dawns on you. It doesn't seem to very often in my experience. Here's a doozy, a great phrase, allopathic medicine, also known as symptomatic treatments as opposed to curative treatments. Here the symptom is deemed to be the issue, and the solution is usually pharmaceutical. What a surprise! It's been described as being content to place buckets under a leafy roof. 20th century Western pharmacological medicine is drunk on drugs, and for very obvious reasons. For example, statins for blood pressure, Viagra, otherwise known as sodium chlorate for sexual dysfunction, analgesics for pain, minoxidil for unstable blood pressure and tinnitus, Solazopril and warfarin for high blood pressure. You don't need to change your lifestyle, you don't need to change your diet, just pop a blinking pill. Steroids for performance, and mRNA for inoculation, antipyretics for fever, and SSRIs, that's the Zoloft serotonin top-up, in case you didn't realize it, for your depression. Allopathic therapy is symptom-fixated and completely confuses correlation with causation. That's the common analytical mistake of the lazy or unscientific mind, in case you needed prompting. Go search functional medicine for the polemic to current toxic, politically, emotionally, financially and ideologically driven medical practices where there's a pill for every ill and a pile of money to be made. To quote the insightful Dr. Dahan, if it were in my power, I would defund and deconstruct both the CDC and the FDA. I mean, drain the swamp. I'm quoting Dr. Dahan now. All of them now have their hands in the big pharma till and replace them with doctors who are trained in critical thinking, whatever that is. Then we might be able to bring health science back to its roots. A healthy diet, the centrality of exercise, mental health practices and a healthy lifestyle. Thank you, Dr. Synods Dant. While we're still in the A's, how's this one? The algorithm. The often inadequate computer-generated formula or rules for normative behaviour and the prescribed solutions to societal ills and target marketing. That is for social/financial reconstruction, for public policy provisions, specifically hate speech definitions, an algorithm for hate speech definitions, regularity, industrial quotas, regulatory, I'll get that word, industrial quotas, environmental rules to limit pollution and climate change, immigration and disinformation censorship. It is certainly something to be feared, this algorithm, as a forceful source of marginalization of minorities as blindly applied by digital and now artificial intelligence. Are you frightened at what's coming? You ought to be. Algorithms don't care about your feelings, your independent circumstances, your difficult situation, or your unusual predicament. They just don't care. We in the West now live in the scary and often powerless world of government by the algorithms of the office-bound ideologue. Have you noticed that yet? The farmers know all about this. And the undergirding industries of farming, fishing, health, power and mining are no longer safe from their one-size-must-fit-all algorithmic reach. And then marches inequality of outcome, but that's for another day. Anthropogenic climate change. You ever heard of it? That's a big one, isn't it? Anthropogenic climate change. You're going to hear more about this one. Climatic influence assumed to be caused by the CO2 producing activity of humanity, as opposed to climate change caused by natural causes such as, volcanic explosions, meteor showers, sunspots and historic climate phasing, or transitions if you prefer. Did you know that CO2 percentage of the atmosphere is about 0.04%? Up from 0.03% in the last century. Is that scary or what? Well, actually, no, it's not. Unless, of course, you're trying to frighten the masses. But then, why would you want to do that? Oh, this is a lovely one. Arm's length actors. Ever heard of arm's length actors? No, I hadn't either. And still I began coming across this phrase more frequently and wondered about these shadowy people. What's known in political circles as intermediates. Oh, that's innocuous, isn't it? Well, listen to what the intermediates do. They're paid to lobby on behalf of those powerful vested interests who operate from behind the curtain, themselves fully shielded from public scrutiny. Arm's length actors attempt to load the narrative and to lobby for favourable outcomes regarding any vote taking, any lawmaking, any social media platforms whatsoever. Heard of the 77th Brigade in Britain? It's one particular example I want to pick out. This brigade uses social media such as Twitter and Facebook, as well as PSYOP techniques to influence populations and behaviour. David Miller, a professor of political sociology at the University of Bristol who studies British government propaganda and public relations, oh, what a job that would be, said that it is involved in manipulation of the media, including using fake online profiles. I found that on Wikipedia. New Zealand, home of my birth, the land of the innocent naive itself, has a reputation as being the least controlled, least transparent lobby zone nation in the entire Western world. It's known by some as the Wild West of lobbying. At least that's how Guy Espliner, our eminent journalist, describes it. Check RNZ entry 25th of the 3rd, 23. Oh, here's another one. Affirmative action. Listen up, America. I'm addressing affirmative action, one of your favourites. The practice of restoration and recompense for historic injustice. And yes, relevant now for Britain, for Australia and for New Zealand. And when clumsily applied, becomes the new racism. You might call it reverse racism, for that is what it is. And the empowerment of the enabler. See also equity or equality of outcome further down the track as a political, ideological doctrine with unanticipated, disastrous consequences for all those who try to practice it. Well, that concludes the A section of the glossary. Hope you got something from that. I know I did. And if this is annoying you, I'm glad, because it's time some people out there really fronted up to the truth. Welcome to Riddell's War Chest. If you like what I've said so far, let me remind you that you can download the entire transcript for free. Click here and you'll be able to read it for yourself.